So thank you guys so much for coming to join us. Take a seat. You're good. No rush. I guess I'll stand here. It's a little tighter than I thought, but I'll take the fact that the front row is full as a good thing. So thank you guys. I do appreciate you coming. I'm excited to share a little bit about marketing today. And I usually like to start off with sharing a story that really helps you guys understand I'm just like you. At the end of the day, I'm in the home building and remodeling industry. I've been doing this since 2006. My journey started in the trades, believe it or not. I owned a painting and drywall company that did turnkey services for custom builders here in Atlanta. And so all to say this, I think the funny story is that when I started that company when I was 20 years old or 21 years old, I thought that marketing was a postcard and maybe putting your, like whatever ads at the time, like a yellow page out and just praying that the phone was going to ring. And I said, well, we're marketing, right? That was literally what I thought. Like, so all to say this, the fast forward, 18, 19, 20 years, wherever we are now, I have a very different vision of what marketing is, and so I'm excited to share a little bit of what my learnings are over that period of time. And everything that I have to share with you guys today is something that I think you can easily deploy into your businesses and that you'll find some successes with. Now, there's a lot that goes into that, and I think that there are many different ways to quote unquote market, but I want to focus today more along the strategic route of marketing, not necessarily the tactical pieces that you would deploy, but largely centered around your brands. And that is where we all have the opportunity to shine, share our own uniqueness about who we are and what our unique offering is and what we do particularly well. And then some of those ways that you can deploy those things that you know about yourself into the marketing space that will return the client that you want, right? Because let's be real, the economic uncertainty of this market that we're in today is probably as scary as it's ever been. I think, I can speak as a contractor personally. I'm watching over 3 different markets now, and it doesn't matter what price point we're talking about or what type of economic position that your client might be in, whether you think they're insulated or not, they are all on edge right now. And if you haven't experienced a project being put on hold, if any of you were around during COVID, like who, as show of hands, who was in business during COVID? Okay, so all of us, right? So how many projects did you guys see go on hold during that time? No, none? That's amazing. Well, I would say I think I had 2 builds go on hold, and that was, I felt fortunate. And so, how do you leverage your brand? How do you leverage your business and your philosophy and all of the processes and your experience to traverse challenging times, right? I think it falls back to brand as a moat. So I just want to take a little bit of time to share some of the thoughts that I have around it and share a little bit about how we've done it as a company. So everything you see here today is actionable because we've done it. This is not like pie in the sky. This is a concept. This is something that we think will work for you. This is something that I would tell you has worked, has allowed my business to not only scale from 1 market to 2 to now 3 different markets across a wide variety of price points, starting, probably middle tier remodels being $300,000 to new construction builds that go across $6 million. So all of this to say, it's largely focused on that higher end of the market. And if that's your goal, I think some of these things will be useful for you today. So again, just kind of share a little bit about me. This is who we are. I'm not going to read all of this stuff. We do primarily focus on the luxury market. That's really what all of this is to say. Our team is anchored on our vision and our mission. To speak to that, that's who we think we are. And when creating a brand, I find that it's incredibly important to understand who you are. that could feel very challenging to decide what it is you're gonna be, right? Are you gonna be the service guy? Are you gonna be the quality guy? Well, I think a lot of us would say, can't we be all of those things? I want to provide the best service, I want to have the best price, and I want to produce the best quality, but we all know that that's not possible. It's not attainable. We're going to have to begin to niche ourselves into a focus area that you are going to begin to communicate to the market, right? And that's what, from the perspective of your vision statement and your mission statement, two totally different things, you have to start to focus on. And so as a company, our mission and vision is largely based on being customer-centric, providing an unparalleled experience. You know, I'm not trying to use catchy phrases when I say that, but what I am putting out to the marketplace is that the experience that you will have with us should easily be differentiated between the others in the marketplace. And that might even sound complex or challenging to do, but if enough effort is applied and consistency, you can get to a place where you spell that out. And I'm going to take you through how we go about doing that. But let me start with this, and I want to ask this question, and this is just, you know, show of hands in the room. Have you ever, or has a prospect ever called you and said, we want to do this project and we want your company to do it. We're not calling anybody else. We've seen your work and we feel like we already know your quality. How much? Anybody? Yeah. That's great. So you're doing something right, because the proof is already there somehow. Whether, let me ask it a different way. Of those people that said that to you, how many of those people were direct referrals? A large percentage, right? Okay, so we know how we get there that way, but the other way. How many have done that based on their marketing efforts? Good, great. It's impressive, and it feels really good the first time it happens to you, because you are not competing anymore, right? They already know you, you've already established trust, and you've just taken all of the conversations about money off the table, right? Seems like a slam dunk as long as you get kind of close to where they want to be. So that's awesome. That's the power of branding. But Apple sells how many phones every single year based on that one concept alone? That's how they do it. I mean, you can talk about user experience, you can talk about a lot of different stuff, but what I want you guys to walk away with today and what I want you to expect is how to define that brand, learn how to stand out by aligning your message to your values, right? What you stand for matters a whole hell of a lot. It really does. And how to communicate with confidence and position your services for premium clients, and where there's not a tough uphill battle of selling these customers. I'm not telling you it'll ever be easy. You've got to have a lot of processes in place, and you've got to do a lot of things particularly well, especially on the high-end client, you know, side of the game, because they have expectations that sometimes can be hard to meet. Let's all say it, right? Like, working with people that have means are typically handled a little bit differently, right? Their experiences in life don't lend themselves to being let down very often. And if you do let them down, you're going to know about it. Let's be real about it, right? So, and then beyond that, how do you leverage your content for authority, right? Like, what does that mean? Leverage content for authority. What do you think it means? What do you think leveraging your content to create authority means?
Well, I mean, whatever your message is, you have to obviously speak to that client and what their goals are for their lifestyle or whatever it is. But it's a personal connection, right?
Yeah, you are using the content to pre-establish your strength in process, your strength in detail, your strength in experience, your strength in quality. You're leveraging your output to create all of those things without you ever having to talk to them, ever. So that's what that means. So, and you need to be incredibly strategic about the content you put out. As an industry and as a builder, everybody on this room has Instagram, right? I'm gonna just assume that. Everybody in here probably follows another builder, and everybody in here has seen some video of some house with some nice music behind it, right? If you opened up their main grid page and looked at their, that nice coffee table book of a portfolio that it should exist on the front of that Instagram page, would you be able to determine their common theme and what their strategic initiative is for the content they're putting out? That's the reverse engineering of how to determine how they're trying to position themselves in the market. And if you can't find that, maybe they don't have one, and maybe that's fine too. You can catch a lot of fish, but what kind of fish are you trying to catch? I'm trying to catch whales. It's a different hunting method to catching whales than it is to catching grouper, right? It's just not the same thing. So, how do you elevate your marketing strategy beyond that? Creating a focused plan that attracts the right client and gets rid of all the tire kickers, right? Or the people that shouldn't be talking to you to start with. Like, how many wasted phone calls must we take? I can tell you, and I feel bad for the sales admin girl. She just, she has to field a lot of them, but imagine the phone only rang with the ones that should be calling you. That's the goal. The goal is to weed it all out, right? So marketing's not just about getting the leads. It's about building that legacy. And a brand that sells does more than attract. It inspires trust, it communicates value, and it justifies that pricing that you feel that you can demand. That's important. So how do you build a brand that is quote unquote magnetic? How do you attract the people with the polarity that you have, that you're trying to reel in, right? You start thinking about, what are some of the first things we do when we start a business? How many people in here own more than one business? Okay. How many people own more than two? Cool. So what's one of the first things that people do when they start to build a company? Get on Fiverr, ask somebody to make them a logo, right? You start thinking about all that brand collateral that you want to put together so you can have that nice shiny image out into the marketplace, and you put so much focus on every line and sketch and detail of that logo, right? Like you're just focused on it. See that so much, right? Well, wouldn't it be interesting to think if we created a brand with how we were going to approach the market, know exactly who our customer is going to be, think about exactly how we want to deliver that product, how we want the tone of our message to sound. Think about all those things if we just whipped it up in ChatGPT real fast and said, do all of this for me really fast. You could pretty much do that now. It's amazing if you feed it the right input, what it'll regurgitate. But focus on building a brand, not the logo. The logo is fine, and I think that you should give it plenty of consideration. Like, I know exactly how I feel every time I drive by Starbucks. I think, treat, right? Let's be real. Like, I feel happiness, right? Or I feel energy when I think about Starbucks now, because I know that's my treat time of the day. Does your brand say the same thing? And I understand, we're remodelers, right? How many interactions will a client possibly have to communicate or to feel your brand through your logo? It's not common. You might, how many, I could go down a very long rabbit hole on how present our logo is out there, but the logo should make you feel something. And if you do marketing right and you get yourself out there enough times, they should see it probably 10 to 15 times before they actually purchase from you. So it's enough. It's enough. It matters. So make sure you're focusing on how they feel when they see that logo as opposed to how cool it might look. That's the idea there. So, and then I go back to, what do you stand for? What are your values? What is your mission? What's your conceptual idea around what you're trying to convey to the marketplace? Define that purpose, your values, and the experience that you promise your clients, right? You know, that's the foundation. That's a core foundational element is who you are to start with, right? I can think about 50 people in my life that every time I think about them, I know how they make me feel. It's just like your logo, identifying how you feel about your brand, but now think about those values and the alignment with that, with the type of people that you want to communicate with. Because if done well, the type of values you have will be the same type of values that your clients have. And then think about how easy it might be to communicate with them because you've already done half the battle. That's the idea. That value, those values, that foundational piece should be the slippery slide into the project. And then, you know, I've heard this a lot of times in networking, and we all network, it's just inevitable, but they always say you want to be in mouths of others of rooms you're not in. You ever think about that? So you want people talking about your brand. It needs to traverse the omnipresent marketplace that we exist in. How many places is your brand seen? You think about that often. I think about, I'm on every kind of social media platform there is. I'm in every magazine that I can be in. I'm in all these other places, right? Like I think about that. But if your clients are on the first tee box somewhere and they're talking about, you know, hey, I've got this really special project coming up, and they're talking to Jim Bob, you want him to be referring your name. Or I saw this guy. Have you seen this guy on Insta? Have you seen this guy on TikTok? Whatever, like he did this thing, right? Like you want your name to be in their mouth. That's the idea. Because from my finding, even in the highest end markets, not everybody knows a builder. Not everybody has a friend that has a builder. It's just not that way anymore. It used to be that word of mouth would probably, I bet if we asked the percentage 10 years ago, word of mouth might be close to 50 to 60%, if not better. Now, it's not even close. People are a lot more disconnected from one another. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but statistically speaking, if you were to poll the clients that you have today, I would be willing to bet a lot of money that it's a lot lower than what it used to be. So what are you going to do then? You got to lean in on your brand because you're going to need to use the outside marketplace to drive that business back to you, right? And that is something that is not only powerful, but it's scalable and it's predictable. So when you move into marketing, you're going to turn your mindset from, I hope I get a call this month, to, well, I know what my CPM this month is, and I know what my CTR is, and based on that, I know that I'm going to get 34 leads, and my cost of customer acquisition is going to be X, and then I should convert at least 30%, and I'm going to have Y as revenue. Like, you are going to scale your business to a place where it's predictable, not be reactive to the fact that you might get a lead. That's no way to do business, in my opinion. So that's what I'm suggesting, that you focus in. So you put that into action. You've got to deal with the tactical piece of it to a certain extent. So consistency. Think about how many times someone needs to see your brand before they feel like they've captured your values. How many times have they felt your experience? How many times have they, depending on whatever it is you're putting out into the universe, they say it takes, 7 times to see something before they'll act on it? It's no different than a billboard. So, and here's the other thing too, and I just want to say this out loud because there's a lot of people, and I don't know why, and it's, I have a good friend out in San Jose, Stephen and Heather Tankersley with Tankersley Construction, and she happened to be doing a podcast last week, and her husband is kind of outspoken. He's an outspoken guy, but he said, if you don't toot your own horn, who will be there to hear your music? You need to come and detach the emotional feeling that you are somehow or another going to be pushing too much self-promotion into the marketplace. Chances are, based on the algorithm, and you might not even know this, your base may never see the post that you made. based on the algorithm. You might need to post that same post 5 times to hit 40% of the followers that you have. So stop with the idea that you shouldn't be promoting your business. Who else's business should you be promoting? My goodness, it's your business, right? Like, you just have to detach the feeling from it, because maybe you have a misunderstanding that those people from high school are going to judge you for posting something 4 or 5 times about your business. Put it out there every day, twice a day. You know, who cares? But that goes along with the consistency. So you have to be consistent with it, because people won't always see the message. You might think, oh, I got 1,000 followers. 1,000 people are going to see it. Nope, not even close. Not even close. So, but when the clients follow your work over time, you do start to develop trust. It's inevitable you will. And depending on the content and your values and those ideals that you have in your brand, you'll begin to get the message across. And even if they hit next, it's okay. Hit them again. Don't worry about it, right? It's that visual proof that does drive the decision making in all of this. You know, the high quality project visuals and the walkthroughs and the team insights help those clients envision their experience with you. They need to put themselves in the place where they feel like they're in business with you, like what it must be like. And that is where you get this, the 2 or 3 hands that came up that said, I want to use you and there's no one else I'm willing to use. That's how that happens. It's a full circle approach. It comes back to that. They already have the degree of confidence that they're going to have a positive experience with you, that they're going to forego all the things that everybody told them not to do. Get 3 quotes, do this, do that. They're willing to not do that with my minimum project size at this point is around $250,000. So I'll just say $250,000, which is a hell of a lot of money, in my opinion, right? So I don't know if I'd spend $250,000 without getting some kind of perspective. But there are people that do it, and that do it every day. And I'm not saying that that will be the common thing, but it should be nice when you do get it. The other thing is like, you think about the clarity in your message, right? That goes back to that strategy about being able to look at the grid and see what you can kind of peel apart or reverse engineer the strategy behind it. You need to make sure it clearly communicates what you're trying to convey. And if you're out there with your iPhone, flip it around. Might be real hard for you to do that too, right? It's one thing to post, it's another thing to turn the camera on yourself. But how are they going to get to know you? When's the first time that they might see you? When you show up to their house, or maybe a Teams call if you're doing a pre-qual, because we do 2 pre-quals. We do one on the phone and then we do one on Teams, right? Like, they might not ever see me, quite frankly. And so how are they going to feel that if they've never interacted? Like, I literally have sold projects that I never went and saw the lot before. Like, they know me though, right? They've seen me. They understand what I'm communicating. It's okay. And if you're camera shy, find somebody in your firm who isn't. Find someone to put out front, right? And if it's just you, hey, it might be tough. I'm not saying you got to do this. There are other ways. But, it goes back to this. The pre-sold clients, they're going to skip that bidding war. And that's what we all want. We want a smooth, easy sale. The cycle's already long enough, especially if you got design in-house. How many have design in-house? Do you leverage it in your marketing?
Yes.
Would your customers know you offer it just by knowing your brand?
So that's probably the biggest thing we leverage.
Good.
Is that we're showing our work.
Good. And that's impressive. It's not always fun, but it helps. And if you can get into that, you're going to get a lot of traction, because we all understand that the designer base is getting the lion's share of the views, right? The pretty, shiny, cool stuff. The builders are looked at a little differently. And that's fair, right? We're builders to a certain extent, but if you've got design in-house, leverage that too. I think that that's one of the things that you can do to help get a little additional attention. So, how do you communicate without saying a word? It's like, I'm not a meme, obviously, it's like, it's kind of hard to do, but when you think about it, that perception of who you are is incredibly powerful. It drives everything. And when you start thinking about the higher end customers, they don't build trust as fast, in my experience. Does anybody here think that high end customers trust faster? Has your experience been that they're more discerning? I think so too. So, but I also don't think premium means expensive. Premium can mean a lot of things, right? It just means confidence. You've built confidence in what it is that you're doing, and those high-end clients aren't just paying for the work, they want the peace of mind and the trust. And that's what I find the most discerning clients are asking us for. They're asking us for confidence. They want to feel a sense of peace, knowing that I have potentially at any given time $1 million of their dollars in my hands. That could be hard. So how do you do that? How do you show that? How do you get out front on your social media and make them feel confident that they can do that with you, right? Maybe your body of work today doesn't show that. Maybe the body of work that you have looks like more volume-based work. Okay, so how do you begin to change the narrative? How do you begin to change the visual look and feel that would make a client with that kind of resources begin to feel comfortable with you? Maybe you stay the course on sharing some work, but you spend more time on education and maybe your skills and things you're uniquely equipped to do, or your team, or your processes. Those are some of the things that make people with lots of money feel way more confident, right? It's like, have you ever heard about this problem in building? And everybody says yes, and then you're like, well, here's how we do it. Doesn't have to be complex altogether, right? And the more you do this, the better you'll naturally be at it anyway. The more you'll feel confident talking about it in front of somebody holding a phone. Like, I've never been intimidated by the person in front of me holding a phone, not, just the potentially billions of people on the other side of it. But again, remember, who's going to promote you if you don't? So that's the thought. Clients don't speak construction either. That's the thing. They read experience. And that's true. Your process, the communication, and your professionalism. Let's be real, this industry is plagued by some bad actors, and they make it a lot harder for us good actors to come in and say, hey, we're not like them. So what do? You show it. You put it out there. You show what you actually do. And if you do it enough and you're consistent enough with it, they'll say, yeah, just like on that last one I saw 6 months ago, because your buyer's not coming today or tomorrow. We all know that. Your buyer's coming from a period of time of doing this over a long period of time until they finally say, okay, well, that project's ready to go. And if you're good enough, they'll come to you for the design too, because you have to communicate that as well. Not everybody picks up on it. So presentation, clarity, and systems drive that perceived value. I look at it every single piece, right? From a branding perspective, our proposal formatting. And I don't know what systems you use. There's so many sophisticated systems out there now. But if you're like us, we use Builder Trend. And to the extent that we use it, there is a robust piece and component to providing proposals that can fit your brand like a glove. And I would implore you all to spend a significant amount of time making sure that that proposal that comes their way feels just like the brand that you presented on all the platforms that you presented it on, or even in person. The physical leave behind should feel like the brand. Every piece needs to feel cohesive, as if you never missed a piece, because what will their perception tell them if one piece of your branding doesn't match the other? And yet they're going to trust you with a $3 million build or a $500,000 basement. Like, what part of my project is he going to miss? I would say it's all equally as important. It's all equally important. It's got to be cohesive and match. So I think that content branding is probably the core. At the core, it's the most important single thing that you can do for your business. And what does that mean? Show, teach, lead, then you're selling, right? So that content is like a billboard that never turns off. It stays on 24/7. It's always there. And long after the client goes to your website, scrolls past your post, that content is still building trust. And you never know where it's going to get recognized or picked up. And if you're lucky, it gets picked up by a lot of people and seen once, and then you better go hit it again, because it's about consistency and driving that. We talked about educating, obviously. You guys have a lot of experience. I bet if we calculated the experience, we have hundreds of years of experience in here. There's got to be at least one factoid a week you can go on camera and explain, right? Like, everybody's business is a little different, obviously, but what's one thing that you do uniquely well? Is it your sill sealer? Is it your WRB? What is it? What is it that defines who you are again? Is it building science? Are you building science focused? That's fine. Put it on display. Find the thing. Find the thing that you know that you're focusing on that not everybody is. And don't make the assumption everybody's focusing on what you're focusing on. But be consistent with it. And when you hang your hat on that thing that you're going to put out into the marketplace, stay with it until something tells you not to, right? Look at the metrics. See if you're getting any kind of engagement. Engagement looks like comments, likes, and shares these days, and saves. Don't forget saves, right? So those are the ways that are really going to kind of get you there. And I'm not talking all social media. I could be talking about engagement with an email marketing campaign that you're doing, because I still think that those are very, very good to do for your business. And they also need to be in brand to the extent that it matches every other piece of content in your organizational, toolbox, right? And then my theory on this is you need to leverage the pull effect of thought leadership, right? All of us in this room care about building our businesses. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here investing your time today. I'm sure that if you dug deep enough, you'd look at something that you do uniquely well and that you could get out front of the marketplace with and position yourself as the thought leader, the expert in that thing, that area of practice that you focus on. Are you the best handyman in the state? And what makes you that? Is it based on a process? What is it? How do you communicate that? And are you communicating that in front of people that can see that you're communicating that out front? Because if you're the trusted advisor, if you're the thought leader of your industry, and you're out front, what must the customer base think? Doesn't hurt. Think about it as rounding out your resume a little bit. You ever been on a radio show? No, you have. Think about how that might sound to the client. They're coming to you to ask you questions about something in your industry. Position yourself, because that will be the pull through. So the content that builds trust and the personality of your business and that authority. These are some tactical ways that you can approach it. So you can go with the behind the scenes method, right? Everybody knows Reisinger in this room. Is there anybody that doesn't know Matt Reisinger? Yeah, I didn't think so. He's the guy, right? And your customers at this point, he might as well be WebMD. Keep them away. Because go build something super high building science and see if you want Matt Reisinger on that guy's phone that you're working with. Let me tell you, gosh, I've never used. Yeah. We're building a ICF home right now, and that's pretty building science related. So I would tell you that my grade beams are, I've got equidistant concrete of my radon pipe and my other pipes that cross on both sides, because something Matt Reisinger said. And I said, if it's worth it to you, you're paying me. But anyway, behind the scenes really do help, because some people do want to be educated, right? Some people just won't be confident enough to build something without being educated to a certain extent. It might as well be you educating them, right? And if you build that trust and authority early on, it's more likely that when you do get into the build and you show up that day that they're asking for that thing, that weird thing, that they're going to go, when you tell them that maybe it's not necessary, they'll go, okay, I trust you. It helps downline too. It's not just in marketing. It does help you after the fact, after the sale. But here's the thing, right? When you get to your team and your vendors, right? Like, this is a point where you're going to have to reconcile that the people playing up here they're not worried about competition. They're collaborating. And everybody's heard that, right? So some people are scared. Oh, if I put my vendor on social media, like some other builder's gonna take them or something, like, and they're not gonna have resources for me. Like, the gatekeeping doesn't matter. The vendor wants the business, they'll go get the business. Like, but what you can do with the team, and I've seen other people say, well, I don't put my team out there because what if somebody comes and snags them from me, right? Well, that's a whole nother issue you might have, but that's not marketing related. So you might want to work on other things. Take them on a trip or something. But anyway, you should be leveraging these people. These people should absolutely be one of the defining factors that a customer feels confidence in working with you. I find that when I put my team out front, and I think if I brought them all in here today, I've got 20 employees now, I think most of them have been behind a camera at some time or another. They've been my greatest asset. My greatest strength is in my team. And I've said that 1,000 times over. You know, it's up to me to make sure they're happy. But when I showcase that everyone on my team has skills and that they're valuable, I'm now reinforcing them later on in the project cycle too. So I'm building additional trust, not just in me, the one person, the founder, right? My whole team now comes off as being strong, and that's important. So if you've got a strong team member that does something really special for you, lean into it. Take a deep dive into it. I think you'll see that it'll benefit you to a certain extent. And then design decisions, right? And trade-offs. We don't have to call that, but you know, you want to walk your audience through why certain choices were made in the project, right? This is what is it? The average house has a collection of, what is it, like 3,100 choices. I don't know what the exact number is, but that's on average in a custom house. Something like 3,100 different decisions have to be made. It's significant. And depending on the complexity of the house, obviously, there can be very, very many more on that. You want to walk them through what it might feel like to be in that position, what it might feel like to be in maybe that new CR store down in Buckhead. I'd bet you every vendor, if you called them up and said, I'm coming down there with a client, you had a camera in hand, they wouldn't tell you no. Just saying. Let your clients know what it's like to work with you, right? And then oftentimes you can position yourself as a thoughtful, strategic expert if you're making decisions on certain things. If you're showing yourself sitting in a rickety warehouse of a second-tier vendor, you're showing them everything they need to know, right? You're not going to be attracting that person. You want to show them in the environments that they want to be in. So you're just kind of giving them a little bit more foresight into what it's like to work with you. That's really important. And then lastly, we all talk about the 5-star, Google thing, and everybody wants to get these reviews. It's easier for us to ask a client to be behind camera than it is for them to write a Google review. Somebody please help me if you know that. Listen, I'm here to learn too. But I haven't figured that one out yet, and I'll tell you, it seems to be one of the hardest things that we can do. So in lieu of those, get them talking. Get a customer testimonial, put it in quotations, put it on your website. I'm pretty confident they'll do that for you a lot of times, because especially if the relationship's there, say, hey, can I quote that? Yep, cool, sounds great, awesome. Just put it up. Like, it may not be validated data on somebody else's website, but it's still there, and it's still relevant, and it's real. I'm not saying do anything nefarious, just use what you got, right? Like that's being resourceful at the end of the day. So, and then if you think about the social proof aspect of this, I look at that as currency. I think that if you can build credibility through the things that we have access to, that will also take it one step further. So think about those awards and recognitions that we have access to through here, whether it's a Cody or whether it's an Obie, whether it's a house badge, whatever that is, promote it. Repost it, because they're going to post it, then you're going to post it again, and then put it on your website. Get it in place, right? Those client video testimonials are, again, social proof. Somebody had a good experience with us, right? And then if you can do features, I'm sure as business owners, there's a lot of people like to talk to business owners, so you get opportunities to be in local publications from time to time. Hey, can we interview you about what you're doing or your business? And they need content too. They're just trying to produce content. Find a PR agency, or PR person. Like, doesn't have to be a big, it's not like New York agency out there, but our company has two. We have two different agencies that are constantly pitching our business to other people that need to generate content. And it helps. It's not to say that you will find immediate success, but if you can put yourself out there to the point where, again, you are aligning yourself to be the thought leader in your industry, or you have something relevant to say, it may be that social proof that helps you be out front and your client want to pick up on that and use you. So it's just something. So again, now we have this inverse effect of having referrals by word of mouth. Now your reputation becomes your referral engine. So that's what it all becomes. It's full circle back to that. So I just kind of want to share a couple of examples of some of the things that we've done. I'm not saying this is what you have to do. This is just some of the things that we've chosen to do. And so whether it's in the form of content marketing, showcasing the projects that you're doing, I'm not saying that any of some of this might not be feasible from a cost perspective, whether you have a drone operator, whether you have a videographer or an editor. You know, our company has taken a different approach. We have a full-time marketing manager on staff. We have someone that we've made the investment. Let me put it to you that way. So, you know, but every time I see a piece of this content, I know that it was thoughtfully created around one of the strategic core tenets of our business that we're trying to communicate to our market, right? Like, one might be building technology, building science. One might be showcase work. One might be team, or it could be two in one. You can multiply, you get a multiplying effect. And then you can kind of carry through that, and you need to showcase the type of work that you want to be doing, even if it's in an unfinished state, right? Look at how you can promote that content. Then the last piece is you got to have the right message on the right platform. You have to communicate where the people that you want to communicate with are, and you got to meet them where they are, quite frankly. You know, so if you think about how clients use LinkedIn, one of the most untapped places to put video right now is on LinkedIn. Nobody knows it. They've just been rolling this out for the last 3 months or so. They have put this video in place, and now they're starting to have the scroll feature just like others do. Untapped source into the right kind of people that you want to be working with, because you can actually go in and toggle that focus to who you want to be approaching. So, and you got a lot less competition for these views on that platform. So just a little behind the scenes magic, but make sure that content that's on LinkedIn speaks to authority and process. It needs to speak to those, because that's what people there are looking for. They're looking for, is this a professional person? Because I'm a professional person on LinkedIn, also doing professional activity. It needs to have a professional tone. Obviously, it needs to be shot with the idea that this is going to be on LinkedIn. It needs to carry, right? And then you want to use that for, you know, for instance, your approach, leadership insights, behind the scenes, and where industry peers and high-end clients are going to go to look for credibility. That's what LinkedIn's there for, right? Instagram is definitely a lifestyle platform. We all know that. What is your client's aspirational lifestyle look like? How do they live their life? How can you showcase that your product will help them achieve that lifestyle, right? Like, I can take you down to a big project we got down on, you know, West Paces Ferry, and I can think about what kind of content we want to pull from there, and we're strategizing on that now, but it might look like a pool party and a beautiful Neptune pool, right? Like, that's what you want to focus on, is how are they going to live in this house? Maybe you're gonna spice it up a little bit. Maybe you're gonna hire a caterer and a bartender, and you're gonna have a little soiree there before you give the house back. And you're gonna get permission for all of this, of course. But I'm just telling you, like, the ideas are endless, but you want to showcase how that client's gonna use the space and how it's gonna help them achieve their lifestyle goals. That's important. And then you can kind of start to think about how you can use and read digest content. Obviously, it's expensive to produce content these days, depending on how you go about doing it. You want to be able to test and learn in some place too. So there are tactics and strategies that you can deploy where you can film multiple pieces of content from one pieces of content, test it on one platform, and look at how it performs, and then move it to the right platform. That's a longer conversation than what we have for today, but you test on TikTok. So there you go. That's my advice. And then don't forget to use case studies. Case studies, that's the power. I look at this piece of very basic content. This was probably the most basic of what you can film. Just a secret passage into a secret room, and you're talking almost 1 million views. Does it make any sense? Not at all. Not at all, right? But it got 50,000 interactions. And what matters? People seeing it or people interacting with it? Interacting with it. All day interacting. Shares and likes are going to get you a lot further, but when you can reach a broader audience, you can find more of the customers that you want to have. So you at least have to make the attempt to get it out there. So just be mindful. You might look at it and say, that ain't going to do anything. And then it'll surprise you. You never know. So here's 3 things that I think you can implement this month. Audit your online presence. Is it premium, consistent, and clear? Identify one story-rich project to turn into a campaign project. And then partner with a local designer or vendor for a branded collaboration, or feature your own design team for that. And remember, marketing momentum builds slowly, but delivers exponentially. So there are no diminishing returns in marketing, unless you're talking about Google ad spend. So here's my final thoughts. Building a brand that sells means putting strategy behind every single post, every pitch, and every project. I can tell you that every project we take on today, we think about a story to put out into the world. Even down to how we name our projects. It has a story behind it. And as we present those projects as they evolve throughout the course, we tell a story. That's how you get engagement. The views will come, but they take time. Focus on engagement. And so the final takeaway is our brand is our reputation, and marketing is how you put that reputation on display. Trust is earned long before a client ever picks up the phone, and when done right, your branding becomes the reason you can confidently charge what you're worth. It's not about being the cheapest option, it's about being the most trusted one. I want to open it up for questions because we got a couple minutes, right? We got about 9 minutes or so. Anybody? Any takers? Sure.
It's not a question, it's something. I'm going to plug Nari for a minute here. One of the best things that's helped our company is getting certified by Nari, because to show you're professional, to show your education, you have to stand out from the rest. And so we both have certifications. I have 2. And when you meet or talk or communicate in any way, you always want to bring up a little bit of knowledge that comes from that certification. And, you can ask questions about, or hear your questions so that your answers can pull out your certification knowledge. And if your knowledge is about a healthy home, quality air control, you can get to a prospective client very quickly. When you start talking about that in Atlanta, the headline in Atlanta's paper today was, we have we're the 3rd worst air quality, and we're the worst air quality we've ever had in Atlanta. 3rd worst in the South, excuse me. So I think one of the big things in branding is your education. And the more you get educated by Neri, the more likely you are to feel more confident.
Absolutely. Put it out there.
It all comes in together.
I think you put it out there.
What
Sure.
percentage of your revenue do you dedicate to marketing?
I will give you the industry average based on what I've heard. I would tell you that most construction companies are going to spend between 1% and 3% revenue.
What was the question again?
As a percentage of revenue, how much should you spend on marketing?
1 to 3?
That's just NAHB, and I know I'm going outside of Nari for that information, but I'm just kind of plugging back into
Your company, high-end, trying to earn that trust, doing all this.
about 1.7%.
1.7?
We're very efficient.
Are you including
His salary,
his
yes.
salary?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that last, does that make up the salary of your in-house person? Is that what that made?
It does. Well, no, because I go well beyond the salary into all the other components that we have at work. So, yeah.
On your projects, you say you have 20 employees,
Mhm.
and you have subcontractors as well?
Oh, yeah.
So your employees are in branded shirts, uniforms on
Every
the
day.
project?
Every day in
Subs?
office. Subs, not so much. Subs are subs. But
Okay.
so I only, of the 20 people, only 4 of them are self-perform labor force. The rest are corporate employees. So I've got 8 on my pre-construction team, for instance. So, but yes, always branded. Yeah.
All right, with your social media, you experimented with, and if you have, you found any value in kind of affiliate marketing for some of the products that you put in. If you like this faucet, find it here, you got a unique code, you get a kickback, you know.
I didn't even go that direction, but yes, we've deployed affiliate marketing when entering another marketplace. We partnered with a local person who was going to give us plenty of exposure. I would tell you, if you have the ability to touch someone that has a larger audience that fits within your niche, yes, absolutely.
Well, I'm saying in terms of the products used in your project, let's say.
Oh.
Like Ferguson, you know, if you can set up kind of an association with them and you're providing links to pictures that you're
Yeah.
using that they sell, like have you done anything like that and you think it's worth it?
So-
and you get a kickback from.
Yeah, so I'm an ambassador for 4 brands in the construction industry world. So they're set up a little differently. They're traditional contracts. I'm paid a little differently. I don't get paid for posting links because I don't want to spam my customer base, right? I want it to feel high end, so I'm not willing to say use this link for this. I promote the brand itself. So I focus on those branded partnerships by partnering with the brand specifically. So little plug, Builder Trend. So I'm one of 15 Builder Trend ambassadors around the country. Anytime somebody signs up for Builder Trend in my sphere, I get a little kickback. So, and I do that with Anderson Windows or some other partners that we have in market. So, on a national level though, not local level. Yeah.
Did you, were the things you shared instrumental in getting into those other markets, or were those other kind of strategic decisions?
I'm pretty process oriented, so when creating the process and refining it over time, I simply just deployed the same strategy I had here. We had a little bit of additional data to suggest we needed some minor tweaks in those markets that we had, but for the most part, fundamentally, they're all the same. So.
You're talking, you went LinkedIn, Insta, is that because you ruled out the others, Facebook? TikTok?
Not at all. I get leads from, and I know it's not about leads, but again, TikTok drives.
So you guys are on those channels as well?
Oh, yeah.
YouTube, so.
Oh yeah, definitely. And YouTube, obviously, for long form content and being able to maybe do longer form content on project-based things, or depending on which direction you're trying to like share your expertise, you can lean into it a bunch of different ways. So.
What percentage of your revenue would you say is sourced from your marketing activities?
Right now, we're only about 30% repeat referral. So 70
70% of your business
comes from marketing effort. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you think it's cheap to advertise or market financing? in-house financing?
Depending on what project size you're attracting, right? I choose not to market financing options because I'm approaching a different market, right? That typically should have the means and resources to be able to buy my services. Not to say that they won't leverage them, especially if the money's cheap enough, but I choose not to. I would say in other businesses that I own, I lean into it heavily. So for more transactional based projects, yes, financing is a great idea to lean into from a marketing perspective. Yeah.
So when you create your content on a project, how do you approach the customer saying, I'm going to use your project kind of to promote my brand? Is that a dialogue that you have with them, or do you just kind of?
A little. Yeah, I don't go very deep into it. It's in my contract, so I can kind of do what I want to, assuming that they tell me I can't. So, and I typically ask the question like, how involved do you want to be? Because a lot of times people find us from this content, so they say, you know, I'm like, how involved do you want to be in us producing content on yours? And you have to also understand we're only showcasing 50% of our work on social media. We're not even we're showing half. Like half of what you see is not shown. Like we're not showing everything. And that might be by design. I mean, I have to dox information. I have clients that don't want their name shown, but don't mind the house being shown. It's a simple conversation like, hey, look, part of our business is and trying to get the next projects that we want is showcasing our work. Do you have any objection to us showcasing the work? Are there any areas of the house that are off limits? Those are the questions, right? If you got a safe somewhere or a underground bunker or, you know, something like that, you might want to ask.
So with everything that's been talked about here, everything has been digital based, from what I've gathered. Do you feel as though there's a specific market or clientele for old school, you know, billboard, not really, you know, newspaper, but you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, sort of more physical things.
I think it goes back to who you're trying to attract again, right? So billboards, no, not at all, because billboards are not going to. Can billboards help? Yes, I think they can, but again, it's a smaller sampling for who we're trying to approach, and we're shifted towards the higher end of the market. So we're in publications like the Scout Guide. We're in Atlanta Style and Design. We're in Charleston Style and Design. We're in Atlanta Homes and Lifestyle, where you have the median net worth of $2 million or above, right? So we're looking at those metrics of their readership and looking at their subscription base to understand how to drive those conversations. I kind of left the physical print media conversation out of this because I feel like we all have and I maybe shouldn't have assumed, but I know we all have a different thought on how that works. Now, would it make sense to be on the backside of a scorecard at a golf course? Maybe. I don't know. It's hard because you can't measure it. I don't know where those are coming from. And while I think we do a very good job of lead qualification, which includes asking them how they found us, it's kind of impossible to totally capture the print-based metrics. So I'm not sure is the better answer.
I have a second part question to that. Of all the methods that, you know, you've experimented and tried, which one was the quickest and most impactful? Just straight to the point, got you what you wanted, and sort of is like your bread and butter marketing technique, strategy.
I would say lead gen websites that are very niche, very niche down. So I have 10, 11. How many are there in total? Micros? 7? Okay. Only 7 or 8 microsites that are driving traffic back in. And so there are strategies you can deploy from, you know, keyword phrasing and driving traffic back that way, and then also compounding effects of SEO. But social links it all back, right? So it's not a one size fits all. There's a strategy you need to deploy in order to determine, because you can end up buying out keywords and being in direct competition with yourself, and then you end up finding yourself spending a lot of money and getting zero in return. That's tough. You spend a lot of money fast and have nothing to show. That's tough. So I would tell you, looking at your click-through rate and your conversion rate and trying to develop a strategy for, again, what keywords you're buying and what market you're buying them in. So, because Atlanta is comprised of, think of it as a bunch of little markets. So it's a long process, but you can develop it, and it's trial and error. I would say that is our long-term strategy, and that's how we deploy, but social links it all back together. I know that I didn't answer it perfectly, but it's a hard answer. It's a hard question to answer without really opening the book. Gotcha. Time? Are they telling us we got to go? Well, look, thank you guys so very much for spending some time with us today. I appreciate it. Yeah. If you guys want to, this is us. You can keep up with what we're doing. And, I hope to see you guys around.
Thank you, Brad.